20% black, 21% Asian, 39% Hispanic. The minorities will be the majority. Now, the smartest thing we can do is be the first party to nominate a minority for president. Now, we'll lose, of course, but the minorities will be happy. The minorities will be happy, and they will vote for us in 2008 because we've shown we support them. And the white people will vote for us because our guy isn't black.
Hi everyone, I'm Dom Griffin, I'm a film critic, and you're watching the Armchair Auteur. This is an ongoing video series I do where we talk about new movies, old movies, screenplay analysis, that sort of thing. So if you're the kind of person who is into film culture, loves movies, likes to see them get picked apart, please consider subscribing. Today we're doing another installment of Dark Gable Presents, an ongoing series I do here on the channel where we talk about older black movies, some unsung, some undiscovered, but in most cases revisiting and rediscovering works that most people either have not seen or don't talk about often enough, or that sort of thing. Movies that I think have merit that maybe people need to give another look. The film for this installment is going to be Chris Rock's writer-directorial debut, the 2003 film Head of State. Whenever you're watching this video, you probably have a better idea of what is going on with the 2020 election than I do at the time of recording it. So I just hope that whoever you are out there when you're seeing this, that you are seeing this with good news in your mind, and that you're only watching this as a minor momentary diversion from all the post-election fuckery that has certainly already started. Now, this is my first time watching Head of State, but I've been a long-time fan of Chris Rock's, just in general. Not just his stand-up work, but like his work as an actor and his work on screen dating back to like I'm Gonna Get You Sucker.
One order of ribs.
No. 1 rib.
1 rib.
I sure am hungry.
Even to now where he's starring in a reboot of the Saw franchise that he himself helped to shepherd with the studio. But Chris Rock, the director, is an interesting proposition to me. He's one of the few comedy guys to get behind the camera without fully moving away from comedy into more straightforward drama or genre fare. Head of State was his first time writing and directing a feature, but he would go on to helm I Think I Love My Wife, which he co-wrote with a then unsullied Louis C.K., as a remake of French filmmaker Eric Rohmer's classic film Chloe in the Afternoon, before moving on to his latest foray, Top 5, a semi-autographical flick that bears a loose resemblance to Woody Allen's Stardust Memories, which itself bears a very strong resemblance to Federico Fellini's 8.5. I will spoil things ahead of time by saying that I do think those two later directorial efforts are better than Head of State, but it's not because Head of State is trash or anything like that. It's just that it's very of its time. Head of State was made back in 2003, just before the 2004 election, deep in the W era. But unlike a lot of the typically anti-Bush films of this era, it's more broadly critical of the entire political apparatus rather than just the right. In the film, Chris Rock stars as Mays Gilliam, an alderman in Southeast DC who genuinely cares for and about his constituents, but doesn't play well with other politicos enough to move forward or upward in his career, causing him to lose his ward and his wife. But when the Democratic nominees for president and vice president die in a plane crash, power brokers in DC decide to prop Gilliam up as an unlikely challenger to a sure-to-win Republican candidate, an effort both to cynically court minorities while better setting themselves up for the next election where moderates and racists will be happy to vote for anyone who isn't a black man. Initially, Gilliam begins to get a push solely for being irreverent and hip, depicted in a way that is just criminally, torturously 2003.
We really had a great time.
It was off the hizzle for shizzle.
But also his ability to reach a wide array of voters through his plain-spoken charisma and appeal to everyday concerns.
I asked my niece the other day, what's 4 plus 4? She said 44.
It is!
And we got nurses that work in hospitals that they can't even afford to get sick in.
But as his campaign begins to gain traction, his opponent begins to play hardball, causing him significant public issues and leading him to discovering his true role within this race. Once he sees that the political machine is monstrous and ineffective, he forges ahead, choosing his older brother, played by Bernie Mac, to be his running mate and doubling down on the smart populism of his earlier speeches. This all culminates in a big presidential debate that essentially allows Rock to deliver a stand-up routine from the podium, a sequence that may have felt a little too movie-like in 2003, but as Obama's recent campaigning for Joe Biden proves, was probably pretty prescient.
You think Fox News might have been a little concerned about that? They would have called me Beijing Barry.
That's actually one of the most interesting things about Head of State. Even though it is decidedly early millennium in its humor, its style, and its failings, like an ongoing subplot involving Rock's ex-wife that pretty much shows to all of us why he recently got divorced, it still feels vital and alive when viewed today, in how expertly it skewers establishment Democrats and the calcified morality surrounding them and their tepid grabs for slivers of power, all the while heavily presaging how modern politics would move away from the coded and hollow messaging of media norms into the vulgarity that has typified Trump's presidency and many politicians within his orbit. The difference, of course, being that here, Rock's Gilliam uses vulgarity and populism from a place of sincerity and caring about the people he's running to represent, not as part of a larger, more outsized grift designed for little more than self-aggrandizement and nepotism. Obviously, after this movie came out, we really did get a black president, and it didn't all go as well as many of us would have hoped. So the film's conclusion remains the most hopeful and sadly unrealistic element of the entire story. That said, it's still funny as hell. It is much funnier and much more effective than you might assume watching a movie about Chris Rock becoming the first black president in American history. It is, in my opinion, watching if only for the inclusion of god-tier funny man, the late Bernie Mac, who steals the entire show out from under Rock's feet, maximizing every moment he has on screen for maximum hilarity. Of all the throwback parts of this flick to applaud, being able to temporarily revisit a world where Bernie Mac is still alive, still in movies, and still making us laugh has to be the best part. All in all, Head of State feels like a shorter, funnier, less indulgent take on a film like Warren Beatty's Bulworth, and was able to Trojan horse a lot of great ideas into what looked at the time like a run-of-the-mill mainstream comedy. I tend to say this about a lot of movies that I like that were made in the past, even like the recent past, but honestly, watching Head of State today in 2020, it feels like a movie that both couldn't get made today and probably would not get made today. And this movie is as much a relic as it is a cautionary tale. Something that actually gives us like a fair amount of just basic, genuine humor as well as actual useful political insight. And maybe it's a stretch to say it couldn't get made today, but I genuinely don't think it would have. And that's honestly kind of a shame. Alright, that's another installment of Dark Gable Presents in the can. Please check out Head of State if you have not seen it before. It's a real laugh, it's really fun, and it's just really good. And I'm excited to see Chris Rock make more movies as a filmmaker because I think he's gotten better and better with each outing. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you have not subscribed, please consider subscribing. Hit the little bell icon to get notifications when I put out new videos. If you remember this movie fondly or not fondly, let me know in the comments below. Be good to yourselves and each other. Have a good day.